Picture this. Dozens of migrant boats land on Crete's southern beaches in a single week, overwhelming small communities and threatening to turn the island into a new front line. Locals watch in shock as detention centers overflow and reception hubs buckle. This is not the Greece they recognize. It's a frontline state left to deal with Europe's failures. And in July 2025, the Greek government finally decided enough was enough. The sudden surge came from a new Libya-Crete sea corridor. Instead of Lesvos or Samos, smugglers now aimed boats directly toward Crete and even the tiny island of Gavdos. This was no accident. Smuggling networks adapt fast, always probing for the weakest link in Europe's defenses. And when they found Crete, the flood began. In just 3 days, more than 1,200 people were detained. In 10 days, the figure topped 7,000. Local mayors said their communities were never meant to handle this. To ordinary Greeks, it was clear. Without stronger action, their islands and their way of life risked being swamped. So Athens acted decisively. On July 11th, Parliament voted by 177 to 74 to suspend asylum registration for boat arrivals from North Africa. No more automatic claims, no more free pass into the system. It was a strong signal. Greece would not reward those who broke the rules. Critics from UN agencies and NGOs cried foul within hours, but the government stood firm, pointing out that endless tolerance had only fueled more smuggling and more deaths at sea. When word spread that asylum claims would not even be registered, departures fell. Ekaterini reported arrivals dropped to under 400 in August, a fraction of the early July surge. The government went further. In September, it passed new laws with teeth. Prison sentences, fines, detention extended up to 24 months, and ankle monitors to track those rejected but still refusing to leave. No more disappearing into the black economy. This was about law, order, and sovereignty. The Guardian covered it in horror. Many Greeks saw it as long overdue. On the land border with Turkey, the fence at Evros was expanded, with a pledge to extend it to over 100 kilometers by 2026. Sensors, patrols, and steel barriers are a clear reminder that Europe cannot survive with open back doors. At sea, 2 Navy frigates and a support vessel were deployed off Libya, while Libyan coast guards were trained on Crete to stop the boats before they even reached Greek waters. This was a message not just to migrants, but to traffickers. Greece is prepared to defend its borders. The results spoke for themselves. Frontex, the European border agency, reported an 18% drop in irregular crossings across Europe's borders from January to July 2025. In the eastern Mediterranean, numbers fell by 16%. The only outlier was the new Libya-Crete sea corridor, where over 10,000 arrivals had been counted before the crackdown. Once Athens acted, even that route slowed sharply. Of course, the usual chorus of activists lined up to condemn these measures. The UNHCR, Amnesty, Human Rights Watch all issued statements claiming international law was breached. The European Court of Human Rights even intervened to block the deportation of a handful of Sudanese men. But let's be clear, Europe's generous system has been exploited time and time again. If courts and NGOs had their way, no illegal migrant would ever be sent back, and the message to smugglers would be, keep coming. Greece's leaders, by contrast, are facing reality. Ordinary Greeks know what's at stake. Their economy has struggled for over a decade, their borders are exposed, and their national identity feels under siege. A working paper from the Athens think tank Eliamib showed that attitudes have stabilized after the worst years of the crisis, but people remain wary. Polls suggest the government's tougher migration stance is politically popular, not only because it reassures voters, but because it restores some sense of control. The choice is stark. Either Greece accepts being Europe's waiting room for illegal migration, or it enforces rules that protect its citizens. By suspending asylum for sea arrivals from North Africa, by tightening penalties, by expanding fences and deploying ships, Athens showed it prefers sovereignty over surrender. Critics call it harsh. Many Greeks call it survival. The sharp drop in landings on Crete proves deterrence works. Smugglers cannot adapt forever if every new route is met with firm action. Yes, courts and NGOs will challenge each step, but governments are elected to defend their borders, not to satisfy activists in Brussels or Geneva. So, where does this leave us? With a new model: immediate deterrence, stronger returns, and physical barriers where needed. Greece is showing that Europe doesn't have to accept uncontrolled flows. It can draw lines, enforce laws, and protect its people. Whether Brussels likes it or not, this is what sovereignty looks like. What do you think? Should other European countries also toughen their policies? Which countries in particular need to get a grip on their entry policy?